Please, 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 before you go to the comments and call this show BLM propaganda trash or whatever you guys called it recently, please cleanse your mind and watch this show without having a vendetta that may be against anything pro-black. I'm rating the show based on how woke it is, not fully to push an agenda, so please understand that I'm trying my best, and you should too.
The Proud Family. What?
The Proud Family is a show that most of us grew up watching when we were younger. To watch the shows, even the crossovers with Lilo and Stitch. And so when they announced the reboot, I was like, oh, this is going to be exciting. This is going to be pretty interesting. You know, it's a show that hits home. You know, I had a huge crush on Penny Proud when I was younger. Her and Kim Possible were like my cartoon wives. Proud Family was a special show for me because unlike most cartoons on TV, it was a full black cast when it came to the main characters and the recurring ones. I watched the first season when it came out last year and thoroughly enjoyed it. The story writing could have been better, but it's a reboot. They're trying to fit everything into one scheme. And with the most recent season dropping on the first day of Black History Month, I really wanted to have a watch and have a take on the show myself. And as I was watching it, my Twitter timeline was filled with people discussing some of the problems and interesting scenes that may have happened in this season. And with this being a pro-black cartoon, there were a lot of people who weren't happy. People thought the show was too woke and it's brainwashing our kids, while others think that this is a great way to explain the truth. So, the million-dollar question today is the Proud Family Louder and Prouder reboot too woke? Let's find out. Before we get into that, I really want to talk about how the show itself ranks for entertainment purposes. The Proud Family, the original one, was a top tier show, and the reboot, although it's really good, it's not on that level. I do think that it might be nostalgia playing on my part, but I do think that the OG version was just clear. When it comes to the characters in Louder and Prouder, they all stay the same when it comes to structure and personality. Penny being loud and the voice of reason in the group, Oscar being the comedic relief, Trudy being the peacemaker of the house, Sugar Mama being peppy and prideful about herself and also being very active, and BB and CC who are just the babies. And even when it comes to Penny and her friends, they've all stayed the same in personality as well. We are introduced to a couple of new characters like Maya, who's a pro-black activist. We also meet KG, who is Sticky's replacement. He's into tech and gaming. He's voiced by rapper A Boogie. Yeah, Sticky is gone because, you know, his voice actor is, having a little bit too much fun.
And then I gave her some yeah.
We also have a new love interest for Penny, and his name is Kareem, a 6'6" basketball player who's not really into basketball. I think the show carries itself pretty well for the most part. It has the benefit of each episode being exactly 30 minutes, so it can articulate each message pretty well. Unfortunately, some of these messages suck, but some of them were really good. But we'll get into that. As a show itself, I think some of the main flaws that they had in season 1 were the fact that Oscar had so much screen time in the first season. He was in the screen as much as Penny was, and although this is the Proud Family, the show really revolved around Penny herself and then her family members and then her friends. It was really more so Oscar and Penny in the first season, which can take away a lot of how the show originally portrayed in the 2000s. But in reality, season 2 really rectified the issue and did really well adapting to the show. We see the progression of characters like Dejanay finally having a boyfriend, Penny and Kareem building a strong relationship, and we even get to see more of BB and CC. As a predominantly black cartoon, it adapts to today's generation pretty well, from all the memes and references to pop culture, as well as references to other shows like how they had Penny feel like Moesha.
Dear Diary, there's so much happening this month. First of all, Dejanay and I are celebrating our 14th friend-iversary. She's my BBB, bestie before birth. But the main thing going down is the debate team.
From even the freshly new Afrocentric features and hairstyles that really pop out when you watch them, it's a very good thing to see, especially if you're a black person like me. And it's really well animated. I didn't realize how good the animation was until I really started watching the show. They've adapted to a more modern art style, and sometimes the animation moves like a Disney princess movie. A1 from the crew. So the million-dollar question is this show too woke? And the answer is yes. Now, before you start celebrating saying yes, we got it, I knew it. Listen to this first. If you've come from a red pill conservative channel like Candace Owens or whatever, watch this quickly. Some of you claim that you watched the show when you were younger because it was one of the, it was a predominantly black cast. You watched the show when you were younger. It was on Disney Channel. You didn't really watch it, and that's okay. You were kids. You probably don't remember it half the time. Before we talk about the Proud Family itself, let's talk about what the term wokeism is. Being woke was a term used by a lot of African Americans as a way to teach others what the American institution would not teach. Things purposely left out of history books as a way to mask the white American man in a better light. The term has now been twisted and turned by some conservatives as anti-white, anti-religion, and anti-American propaganda. Now, or they call it these days woke propaganda. An example would be adding a black character to a predominantly white cast. That's considered woke propaganda by some, by the way. Having a gay couple or LGBTQ plus character is considered woke propaganda. If any of these characters were to call out an authoritative figure of power, whether it's a government official or any sort of equivalent within the TV show, that is considered woke propaganda. So does that mean that the Proud Family is woke? Yes. Is it too woke? Yes. Has it always been woke? Yes. The Proud Family, including the original, has always had scenes where the characters are discriminated against or trying to explain black history from a different light, contrasting with an American education system. That's why it was so successful back in the day, because it was one of the first cartoon shows to pull this off in the 2000s. There was a whole episode of the original Proud Family where Penny Proud is sent back to the 1950s and shown how black characters were treated by their white counterparts. So for the many people who said, why did you change the original Proud Families to some woke propaganda, you definitely didn't watch the show when you were younger, because it was always been like this. You're only mad now because you can actually understand it and it goes against your views. Look, I found a little speech in that one episode that everyone's talking about was a little bit cringy, but for most of the facts they said, it was true. The Chicago reparations is always going to bring the divide, I'm sure. But if we're keeping it a buck, the Proud Family's wokeness is nothing new. It was there in 2003, and it will be here in the year of 2023. The show also brings light to other problems that people in the black community may face. The episode where BB is confirmed to be on the spectrum is one of them. I thought this episode was beautifully written. It basically starts out with Penny going to the museum with her friends and bringing BB and Cece along with them. And BB throughout the episode starts acting out, constantly running away and getting himself in dangerous situations. Once they bring him to the doctor, she confirms that BB is showing signs of early autism. Oscar became furious with the decision by the doctor to say this, which is the reaction of a lot of parents. They don't tend to believe that something like this may happen to their kid. And I think this episode was perfectly written, because not only does it show how it can affect the parents, but with Penny being the oldest, it's an unfair burden that she has to deal with, as she has to constantly take care of them. They learn to accept that BB may need some help growing up that other kids may not need. And it's just a great episode from beginning to end. I really love this episode, from the reactions to the writing. It's really at its best. One episode I didn't like was the one called The End of Innocence. Definitely one of the episodes where I just didn't know where the writing was heading, because they were just so confused. The synopsis is basically a new boy from hit TV show Outer Things, Noah Barker, transfers to Penny's school, and he wants to go on a Valentine's Day dance with someone. And out of all people in the friend group, he picks Zoe. The girls are upset that Zoe for choosing to go to the dance with him, because they believe this is a practice of colorism. Colorism is basically discrimination or prejudice with someone of darker skin tone. An example would be me, a black man, choosing to date someone lighter complexion and at the same time bashing someone whose complexion is darker. And that's the problem with this episode. Instead of blaming Noah for choosing Zoe, they're eager to blame Zoe for picking a date with Noah. Why? Is it because she's white? My problem really lies on how they don't learn anything in this episode. Penny Proud is usually the peacemaker in the show, and she didn't even try to piece it out. The parents who were in the room with them just left, and all the girls just turned their backs on Zoe as if she was a problem. And by the way, Zoe's character, she's like the girl that gets no play at all. She literally has like little to no guys talking to her. So this is like a first time Zoe has like an actual relationship status. Noah, the light-skinned man, is bashed for choosing white girls, and instead of them maybe showing a scene where he bashes a darker-skinned girl, or he says, oh man, I don't like dating black girls, that's why I picked Zoe, maybe showing us that this is a prevalent problem in the black community, because it really is, they don't. We just assume that's how he is, because he's a light-skinned man. Zoe comes to her quote-unquote senses and decides to dump Noah, who finds another white girl, and is reaccepted to the crew. This episode made no sense at all, because I feel like there were a lot of things that were cut out in this episode. There was no lesson learned in this episode like the others, which is rare. It was just an odd episode. They really turned her back on her because she's dating somebody that they wanted. And although Penny and Dejanay are mad at her. Penny and Dejanay also have like they're a couple. They date other people on the show, so I don't know specifically why they're mad. It was just a weird episode. I honestly don't know what they were going with this. In conclusion, The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, it's a good show. It is. Is it woke? Yes, of course. But The Proud Family has always been woke like this, so like, get over it. The show is built on learning from internal black issues, so I'm very surprised people are mad at it for being too woke, because it's always been like this. It always talks about issues. It's always, we talk about hypersexualization, colorism, stereotypical issues, all of that stuff. That's always been the thing in The Proud Family, things that The Proud Family as a show itself have been accused of, but that's for a whole nother video. The characters are all funny, they're all original, because Penny's friends are still fake. My favorite characters are definitely, in this version, are definitely Dejanay and Michael. I think those are two cool characters. Michael's, I really like Michael's character in this, because in the original show he was just bullied all the time, but in this show he really has he's like, man, if I don't gotta deal with it, then I'm not gonna deal with it. That's exactly how I think. So, and the OG show, Penny was definitely my favorite character. She was my crush. She was my woman crush every Wednesday. So yeah. So thank you guys for watching this video. It was really fun to do. If you are new to the channel, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and let me know in the comments your thoughts on The Proud Family. I hope you guys don't say anything messed up on the comments talking about some racism or homophobia or anything like that. You could discuss about it, but you don't have to call people out for it. That's not what we do here. So we learn with each other, we talk about it with each other. So did you watch it when you were a kid and all that stuff? So yeah, that's The Proud Family. If you watched it when you were a kid, let me know in the comments down below. Some of you guys also told me you guys wanted me to watch Be Cool Scooby-Doo. We'll definitely be checking that out, so stay tuned for that. My name is That Guy Bri. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in a bit. Ciao.